Sentinels of Magic. A dream roster popped up overnight and looked unbeatable. And that was the problem. Day of Judgment number 1 throws the switch. Asmodel seizes the Spectre, Hell spills out, and DC's Mystics snap into formation. Deadman scouts the unseen, Dr. Occult brings Wardcraft, Faust adds raw sorcery, Alan Scott, now Sentinel, anchors with Will-Forged Light. Madame Xanadu handles divination, Phantom Stranger guides, Ragman carries souls in the Suit of Souls, Raven stabilizes the emotional battlefield, and Zatanna provides precision spellwork. Later, Blue Devil and a Dr. Fate iteration orbit the group, but the mandate stays singular. On paper, it's a magical Justice League. In practice, it's a Fire Brigade. They exist to unhook the Spectre from an angel and shut the doors to hell. That's the purest form of event contingency. Once you beat the boss, there's no dungeon left to clear. The dissolution is total enough to prove a broader point. Even with heavy-hitter mystics who thrive in their own books, the collective identity evaporates the moment the founding crisis resolves. Event-born teams hit a wall in peacetime. No shared headquarters, no ongoing case files, and every member already slotted into different books with different editors. After the crossover, you get cameo clusters in Magic-focused arcs, a loose reassembly here and there, but never an ongoing banner. Marvel's Midnight Suns kept a pulse through recurring supernatural cycles. DC didn't feed that loop here. Zatanna thrived anyway. Solo spotlights and Justice League ties gave her runway the Sentinels lacked. Mission done, team gone, leaving the question of what happens when Magic heavyweights are built for guidance, not deployment. The Trenchcoat Brigade. The trench-coated quartet that taught rather than fought. The Trenchcoat Brigade. Vertigo's Firewall in action. They arrive in the Books of Magic number 1 in December 1990. John Constantine smokes and schemes. Dr. Occult brings ritual knowledge. Mr. E sees timelines like open wounds, and the Phantom Stranger moves between eras as if time were a hallway. Their job is simple and specific. Guide Tim Hunter through the rules and risks of sorcery. That setup gives them weight, but it also locks them into a tour guide lane. It fits especially well for Dr. Occult, who dates back to New Fun Comics number 6 in 1935, one of DC's oldest occult figures slotted into a mentor role rather than a brawler. Here's the Vertigo filter at work. Editorially, Constantine and related occult plots stayed in a mature reader space. Crossovers with capes were rare and cautious, which kept these four from building a field ops identity. Mentors teach and warn. They don't assemble for weekly missions. The 1999 Trenchcoat Brigade miniseries doubled down on lore. It chased mysteries tied to Mr. E's past and demonic meddling, heavy on occult history, light on team logistics and shared objectives. You got depth, not an engine for ongoing adventures. Justice League Dark later solved the problem with a clear mission inside main continuity, exposing how uneven integration held this crew in place. And when a concept can't leave its niche, the next experiment tries changing the business model instead. The Power Company. So the next trial isn't mystical at all. It's contractual. The Power Company, when heroism files an invoice. A San Francisco startup promised superheroics on retainer, so why didn't that sell? JLA number 61 in February 2002 tees up the experiment from Kurt Busiek and Tom Grummett, and a solo series runs with it, The Power Company, a for-hire outfit with contracts, retainers, and PR briefings. Founder Josiah Power, a lawyer who can transform into a rock-like form, builds a roster and a business model. Cases arrive through clients, not danger sense. That means liability meetings, NDAs, and damage caps before the first punch. The ethical hook is strong, but it undercuts the classic expectation that heroes act because it's right, not because an invoice closed. Key players cycle through corporate beats instead of myth-making. Field leaders juggle intake calls and brand protection, and client-driven plots keep the threats local and episodic. Crossovers stall, since Justice League-scale crises don't wait for a retainer to clear. That's corporate heroism misalignment in action. Every fee-based decision creates tonal whiplash the minute real lives hang in the balance. Other money-tinged teams show why it can work. Heroes for Hire pairs a clear mission with charismatic anchors. Booster Gold grew past profit. The team never did. Concept first, character second meant low retention. And despite a high-profile JLA launch, no sustaining title. Global Guardians. Next up is a team that promised a global fix and found itself boxed in by its own structure. Global Guardians, outflanked by the league they inspired. The World's team finally showed up, and then got upstaged across the hall. The Global Guardians arrive in DC Comics Presents number 46 in June 1982, with a clear mission as the Dome's international arm. You get a wide roster with distinct national branding: Rising Sun, Jack-O-Lantern, Godiva, Impala, Olympian, Jet, Gloss, Tasmanian Devil, and Crimson Fox among the standouts. On paper, that reads like a blueprint for global reach and steady stories. Then the spotlight tilts. Justice League International retools the same global idea with sharper personalities and steady humor, and the audience follows the louder voices. The Guardian structure revolves around the Dome: treaties, briefings, allocations, codified from the Treaty of Rome in 1957, which makes their operations feel like paperwork first, heroics second. Under that framing, even cool power sets flatten into role slots. Once their mandate loses urgency, the brand thins. Members drift or get absorbed, with some concepts echoing in units like the Ultramarine Corps. The sign that the heroes worked while the rapper didn't shows up in Migration. Crimson Fox gains traction elsewhere, while the team label gathers dust. Teams that endure lead with character, not an agency. And that raises a different kind of problem. When you invent the template early, later versions can make you look obsolete. Challengers of the Unknown. DC had its Fantastic Four energy before the Fantastic Four, so why don't they headline today? The Challengers of the Unknown launch in Showcase number 6 in 1957 from Bob Haney and Jack Kirby. The core quartet, Ace Morgan, Rocky Davis, Red Ryan, and Professor Haley, survive a plane crash and commit to exploring threats on borrowed time. June Robbins later rounds out the crew. Their mission runs on high-adventure investigations and weird science, not superpowers, placing them at the front of a team template others would later expand and popularize. Their tone is pure pulp, stuntman skill, pilot grit, and science know-how aimed at caves of monsters, lost civilizations, and cosmic artifacts. That worked in the Silver Age. Post-Crisis, escalation favored metahumans and villains with brands. Without powers or a marquee rogues gallery, they slid into cameo duty and historical nods during bigger crossovers. Revamps respect the legacy but rarely add runway. Modern takes use them as custodians of DC's mystery map, the squad you call when a door to the unknown creaks open in an event. That's the proto-team paradox in action. Their influence is real, yet the Fantastic Four's success often eclipses their own, valuing them as history over headliners. The Conglomerate. So what happens when the sales pitch becomes the story? Booster Gold tried to franchise heroism, and for a minute it looked profitable. Justice League Quarterly number 1 in winter 1990 launches the Conglomerate with him out front and Claire Montgomery managing the money. The hook is blunt. Corporate logos on costumes, contracts on the table, and pay-per-view events where villains from Cord can pass as heroes if the ratings pop. Early teammates like Maximan, Praxis, Gypsy, Vapor, Echo, and Reverb form a lineup that already feels temporary. Real Danger doesn't pause for camera setups. Their cash flow depends on spectacle, so mission selection skews toward publicity instead of urgent response. That feeds constant turnover, including the Quad Ringer fiasco, which shows how a commercial focus can corrupt basic team integrity. Members exit after sponsor flare-ups, image hits, or weak metrics. You don't get chemistry because the roster treats screen time like ad buys, not trust built in the field. Audience investment needs consistency. The Conglomerate's model fights that, swapping faces before arcs deepen. Booster's solo path shows the alternative. Start as a shill, grow into a hero, earn respect. The team never takes that turn. They keep the joke and the satire crowds out stakes. Later iterations slot in Templar, Hardline, Echo, Nuklon, and Jesse Quick, but the stable names quickly migrate to sturdier houses like the JSA. The brand nails the critique of commodified heroism, then collapses under it. Force of July. They wrapped themselves in stars and stripes and marched in lockstep, but the mission owned them. Force of July debuts in Batman and the Outsiders Annual number 1 in 1983 as a federal Black Ops answer to Batman's independent streak. Major Victory leads with flag-first zeal. Lady Liberty, an English national with fervent US patriotism, wields symbolic justice. Sparkler turns fireworks into flight and heat. Silent Majority floods the field with duplicates, and operatives like Blairman and Mayflower round out the bench. Their purpose is baked in. Oppose the outsiders, prove government control beats freelance heroics. Here's the knot. Real heroism needs a conscience, not a clearance code. Orders arrive from above, ethics trail behind, and clashes become inevitable. Their patriotic branding hides a harsher truth. They're assets, not partners. And assets get spent. Confrontations with the outsiders show them as blunt instruments, more message than people, moving where policy points, rather than where right and wrong lead. That's ideological device syndrome. Build a team to carry a political point, and the point will swallow the people. When the Cold War chill thawed, the gloss cracked. Press-ganged into the squad, they died on their first suicide mission. An editorial choice that treated antagonistic government teams as expendable equipment, not casts to develop. The Inferior Five, a team where every power backfired spectacularly, and yet they never went away. The Inferior Five launched in Showcase number 62 in May-June 1966, created by E. Nelson Bridwell and Joe Orlando as a straight parody. Merriman leads with super weakness. Awkward Man turns every move into a stumble. The Blimp flies only when the wind cooperates, drifting like a parade balloon. Whitefeather can hit any target until someone watches him and the nerves kick in. Dumb Bunny lifts cars and then forgets why she lifted them. They read as the Freedom Brigade's hapless heirs and make failure the point. Crisis wipes out Earth-12, erasing their home reality and the geography that gave their jokes context. That should close the file, but instead it forces any return to rely on editorial workarounds, meta cameos, non-canonical gags, and kid-friendly riffs where the premise explains itself in a panel. Their original bits still sell the idea. Merriman's meetings spiral into delays, the Blimp parks mid-air and snarls traffic, Whitefeather shanks a perfect shot the instant a crowd notices, Dumb Bunny tears off a door and blocks the exit. Like Marvel's Great Lakes Avengers, the self-burn keeps them circulating. The Legion of Substitute Heroes. They start as the Legion's rejects and end up stealing the spotlight. Adventure Comics number 306 in March 1963 introduces Polar Boy, Night Girl, Stone Boy, Chlorophyll Kid, and Fire Lad from Edmund Hamilton and John Forte, with later oddballs like Color Kid, Porcupine Pete, and Antennae Boy, filling out a bench that refuses to sit down. The premise looks throwaway at first glance. A backup squad for a team that patrols the galaxy. Failure, by definition, turns into fuel. Night Girl loses power in sunlight, so she becomes the queen of stealth ops and underground raids. Stone Boy can only move when not stone, so he learns timing, infiltration, and patience as a weapon. Fire Lad trains around his wild flames, using tight bursts instead of wide sprays. Those limits create situations the main Legion can't handle without collateral. During the Keith Giffen era, they were often treated as a joke, even by peers, which paradoxically kept them visible as reliable comic relief instead of forgotten footnotes. Readers stick with underdogs who grind. That loyalty pays off when Polar Boy pushes from substitute leader to full Legion status. Not through a power upgrade, but through leadership, planning, and stubborn optimism. The subs also thrive because their looser setup invites experiments, one-off missions, weird threats, and character bits that don't fit the main team's structure. The Heroes of Lalor. The Galaxy kept adding teams that looked ready for promotion but never left the sidelines. The 30th century wasn't a one-team town, yet Lalor's heroes rarely left home. They debut in Adventure Comics number 324 in September 1964 from Edmund Hamilton and John Forte, framed as contemporaries to the Legion of Superheroes. The core lineup is strong: Beast Boy, Duplicate Boy, Evolvo Lad, Life Lass, and Gas Girl. An early blow hits with Beast Boy's death in Adventure Comics number 339, trimming the roster before any lasting momentum forms. On paper, their powers could headline. Duplicate Boy can mirror nearly any power, stacking up against top-tier strength. Evolvo Lad shifts along the human timeline, pulling tools from past and speculative future forms. Life Lass generates life from inert matter, and Gas Girl phases into any gaseous state for scouting or defense. These are franchise-ready hooks that never cleared orbit. They run into the supporting cast paradox. Most appearances serve Legion beats, romances, quick team-ups, emergency reinforcements. Plots stay Lalor-centric, which limits scale and reader investment. That's planetary limitation syndrome in action. Local politics, wrapped in space trappings, lacks the sweep of a star-spanning mandate. Compare their ceiling to the Green Lantern Corps. Universal jurisdiction builds stories by default. Lalor's mandate keeps them parked, and their best ideas migrate elsewhere, leaving the label intact but empty. The Justice Experience. Some histories aren't missing, they're engineered to be gaps. DC built a team to be mourned, not marketed. Why create heroes only to erase them from memory? Chase number 6 in July 1998 retrofits the Justice Experience into the past, from D. Curtis Johnson and J. H. Williams III, and shows the aftermath first. Acrobat, Major Flashback, Mr. Action, the Manx, and Songbird exist as names on headstones and crime scene photos. The only thread left is the Bronze Wraith, later exposed as a forgotten alias of Martian Manhunter, which ties this loss to a pillar of the Justice League and gives the mystery weight. The paradox is the point. Their obscurity isn't accidental. It demonstrates how heroism can fail and then vanish from the record. Chase uses retroactive insertion to stage a cautionary case file, a dead team, scattered evidence, and a world that moved on. You feel fragility because the book removes the safety net of legacy and fanfare. That's intentional obscurity design. When creators build a memorial instead of a launchpad, readers process the commentary on impermanence as much as the characters. The Bronze Wraith link pushes it further, hinting that even core heroes have chapters that end in silence and comrades no one remembers. The deliberate gaps critique DC's own archives, echoing the fate of many real forgotten squads. The Blasters. The Gene Bomb created dozens of new metahumans overnight, so why did their dedicated response team vanish faster than the crisis that birthed them? Invasion number 1 in March 1989 sets the stage from Peter David and James Fry. The Dominators detonate the Gene Bomb, and Earth wakes up with hundreds of fresh powers. The Blasters form to handle the surge, coordinate aid, and stabilize fallout. Their reason to exist is the aftermath, not a standing war against a villain. That mandate sets the clock from day one. Snapper Carr steps in as leader, bringing a known name to an untested unit. Around him, Gene Bomb survivors define the lineup. Churl Jenkins pilots and hustles logistics. Jolt channels bioelectric force. Looking Glass manipulates reflective fields. Dust Devil whips up stormfronts. Frag delivers brute impact. Crackpot bends probability into chaos. Each power tracks to a different activation outcome, a sampler of what the blast did to random citizens. Event-specific formation locks them in place. Once metahumans settle and integrate, the mission shrinks. They share no lasting ideology or purpose beyond triage, so unity dissolves when the immediate need ends. Crisis Offspring Syndrome kicks in as editorial focus moves on. Teams that last either predate the event or evolve beyond it. Here, only the people outlive the patch. Snapper kept a role elsewhere, the rapper didn't. Hero Hotline. DC tried superhero customer service through a 1-900 number, and the idea quietly slipped away. Hero Hotline debuts in Action Comics Weekly number 637 in January 1989 from Bob Rozakis and Steven DiStefano. It's a corporate unit that routes trouble through a phone bank. The coordinator dispatches jobs. Stretch handles reach and rescue. Microwave Bell heats and thaws. Private Eyes does surveillance. Diamondette hardens up for defense. Voiceover projects commands. Mr. Muscle brings blunt force. Hotshot adds blasts. Zeep, the living sponge, mops up with odd absorption tricks. The scale mismatch paradox shows up fast. Readers look for city-saving moments, but this crew specializes in lost pets, power outages, and minor municipal snags. Stakes stay local by design, which keeps drama short and tidy. The format locks that in. Action Comics Weekly runs them as short, rotating segments, an experimental anthology DC later canceled. Each call matches a quirky power to a specific problem, and episodes reset before relationships deepen. No long arcs, no slow burn rivalries. Just dispatch, fix, next call. That's mundane mission syndrome. Without rising threats or personal fallout, engagement plateaus. The hotline concept anticipates modern dispatch culture, but in 1989, the meta angle didn't land wide, and the weekly platform's demise erased their only stage. Damage Control shows one path: workplace comedy or event tie-ins. Hero Hotline stayed small by choice, so when the phones went dead, the line between commentary and viability came into focus.
The Forgotten Heroes.
DC assembled a team to prove heroes can be forgotten, and the irony stuck to them. Action Comics number 545 in July 1983 rolls out the Forgotten Heroes from Marv Wolfman and Gil Kane during Vandal Savage's plot to eliminate Superman. The roster is a deliberate pull from the back shelves. Animal Man, Cave Carson, Rip Hunter, Congo Bill, and Rick Flag. Each had history, none had heat, and together they chased strange temples popping up worldwide that tied back to Savage's time game. They weren't tokens. Rip Hunter mapped temporal choke points and identified windows Savage would exploit. Cave Carson handled underground access to temple sites and read seismic clues others ignored. Congo Bill navigated remote zones and coordinated field survival when the traps turned deadly. Animal Man adapted on the fly, layering powers from local wildlife to bypass alarms and neutralize threats. Rick Flag brought Black Ops planning, staging decoys that kept Savage's agents guessing and bought Superman's seconds that mattered. That's where the meta-text lands. Their success proves the thesis: forgotten skills can save the biggest icon. Then the thesis concludes, and commentary trap syndrome kicks in. The team formed to send a message, not to build an ongoing mission. When the threat closed, the wrapper dissolved. Members drifted to sporadic roles, some thriving later on their own, while the banner faded.
Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew. DC handed an entire Earth to animals in capes, then pulled the plug. Their first appearance lands as a 16-page insert in the New Teen Titans number 16 in February 1982 by Roy Thomas and Scott Shaw, leading straight into Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew number 1. Earthsea runs on wordplay and politics with beaks and snouts. The roster locks in fast. Captain Carrot, Pig Iron, Alley Cadabra, Fastback, Rubber Duck, Yankee Poodle, and Little Cheese. Roger Rodney Rabbit turns from cartoonist to carrot-charged powerhouse after a meteorite shower, while Superman's visit sets the tone and scale. The multiversal isolation problem hits later. Crisis on Infinite Earths wipes out the home field, and the team becomes a continuity orphan. Even after a successful 20-issue run, long-term obscurity was baked in. Any return depends on multiversal or metatextual detours rather than natural progression. The stories proved legs beyond parody. Feline Faust and other threats pushed real stakes. Team chemistry clicked. Alley Cadabra's sly spellcraft against Rubber Duck's celebrity ego. Pig Iron's blue-collar punch beside Fastback's speed gags. 20 issues built a rhythm. Then the leftover 6 arrived as the Oz Wonderland Wars. 3 double-sized books that didn't deliver a literal war but did extend their tone. Genre segregation finished the job. Humor teams struggle to cross into grim mainline stories, and losing Earthsea removed their safe lane. One more data point in the index we've been tracking. So which obscure DC superhero team would you revive? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more Explainerverse videos just like this one.